Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Ivan from Business Review, and I will be your host. It is our pleasure to have Presspart with us today, who will be presenting this webinar entitled Improving Inhaler Technique with Electronics. Today's guest speakers are Anselm Ebert, Business Development Director, and Thorsten Lehmann, Business Development Manager. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar platform On24. You'll notice that this webinar is browser-based, so if you didn't disconnect for any reason at all, please just click on the link that you received via email to rejoin this session. In order to ask questions, please use the questions widget, which you'll find in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And we will allocate some time at the end of this webinar to answer any questions or thoughts that you may have. If you have any technical difficulties throughout the webinar, please use the yellow help widget and we will assist you however we can. But now, let me hand over to the Presspart team for the beginning of this presentation.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for your introduction. So thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. It's lovely to have you with us. So a quick introduction to myself. I'm Anselm Ebert and I'm over 5 years now joined Presspart and I'm Director of Business Development. Presspart itself belongs to a bigger family-owned corporation of over 2,000 people. And Presspart has 600 employees, did produce over 1.2 billion medical device components last year, and we are on this market for over 50 years. I also want to point out that we're very happy that we acquired another company just a month ago in Switzerland, and this company is also very specialized in molding and assembly of highly complex medical devices, and we're very happy that we are in that position. So without much further ado, I want to hand over to Thorsten to guide us through this webinar.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening, depending on where you're based. Thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Anselm, for the introduction. I'm Thorsten, and I also work for H&T Presspart as a business development manager. And one of my responsibilities is the area of, we call it connected devices. And I'm very glad, very happy to have the opportunity to present today on improving inhaler technique with electronics, connected inhalers. And I will guide you through the hour of the webinar we have. So let us have a look on today's content. There are like 5 topics, 5 themes that we picked. First, we will acknowledge that digitalization in healthcare is accelerating. And then we will also understand that one of the main areas of activity for connected devices is in respiratory. We are going to explain how we from H&T Presspart are already committed to develop connected devices. And you will see our already existent portfolio of connected drug delivery devices. Of course, I would like to use the opportunity at the end of the presentation to kind of set a message that H&T Presspart is actually indeed your right partner to develop your connected devices solutions. And I would say let us jump right into it. As a forward, I would like to start as follows: that technology is setting the stage for some extensive changes in the space of digital health. They will play a critical role in disease detection management and treatment. And I'm convinced that they will also help in optimizing service delivery and standard of care. It becomes clear that the digitalization of health and care complements one another. If carefully designed and thoughtfully implemented, digital health has definitely the potential to improve health and care outcomes. So now, still facing the COVID-19 pandemic, actually during the COVID-19 pandemic, the demand for teleconsultation platforms in Europe, for example, has multiplied, which you can see here on your screen on the right-hand side. It got reported that medical video chat tools are used for tens of thousands of consultations in a single day. And for me, this is a clear fact that the sharing of digital health data leads to improved and faster availability of medical information. And in turn, this then contributes to a higher quality therapeutic decision-making, as well as to an increase in the process and performance of health services. So now if we people want to live longer and better, we will have to rely on research and technology. And the McKinsey survey here on the left-hand side stated pretty clearly that telehealth will continue to play a role in the future. And I think it's pretty clear that this is beyond the US market. This is, will be a global trend, or maybe already is a global trend. And it will probably not surprise you to learn that digital health is on the rise. We believe that in the long term, digital health will increase efficiency and can therefore save costs. Increasing efficiency implicates not only decreasing costs, but at the same time, improving the quality of services, as I said before. And digital health kind of encourages a new link between the patient and health experts, and by making the knowledge base of medicine and personal electronic records easily available to users over the internet, for example, digital health uncovers new opportunities for patient-centered medicine. And we think that it matches people's today mindset. Today, people are no longer willing to be just passive recipients of healthcare services. They want to play instead a more proactive role in health management. And we believe when patients have access regularly to their health information, they can get empowered to take care of themselves, like more actively and more frequently. And additionally, also more engaged in self-care decisions. So now there are wearables and smartphone apps for recording, monitoring, and storing specific health data, and this is becoming increasingly popular. According to a forecast I've read, the global sales in the mobile health segment could rise to almost $250 billion in 2025. This is in 4 years. And what's important, it is not only about smartphones and watches. It's basically across the spectrum. So currently there's a wide range of digital healthcare solutions developed that could offer great opportunities. And not surprisingly, our product today, Smart Inhalers, belongs to the top tier for product development and production. Like I said before, connected drug delivery devices have the potential to improve care by enabling more consistent, personalized, and holistic treatment, especially in chronic diseases with frequent drug administration. Therefore, it's not very surprisingly that respiratory is actually one of the more advanced therapeutic areas for connected devices, driven by the need to differentiate offerings beyond the therapeutic molecules. And there's a study I've read saying there's a majority of connected devices actually are in respiratory indications. And even today, there are several DPIs using the propeller sensor. There's a Discus, Ellipta, Tivas, DigiHaler, and also AstraZeneca's Symbicort inhaler Connect with Ethereum. So now, connected drug delivery devices have moved already beyond simple patient adherence reminders to provide more clinically actionable insights using sophisticated sensors and data analysis. So their adherence reminders and patient compliance functionalities are basically just simple reminders and reports for patients or providers about when the patient administers the drug. But outcome measures include more detailed information on dosing, such as peak flow or forced expiratory volume. And this is now where we actually have a question for you, like a short poll, because we have started the presentation with pretty much advantages and features of smart inhalers, connected devices. Now the question for you in the poll is now, why have we not seen a broad market introduction of connected inhalers as per today? There are 6 responses. I would like to ask you to select only 3. I'm also going to read these 6 options for you. So why have we not seen a broad market introduction of connected inhalers? First of all, number 1, because of the market. For example, the maturity, their regulatory hurdles, it's too complex, there are challenges with reimbursements. Or number 2, because of internal priorities. For example, there's a certain investment required to develop connected devices, or we as a company, we don't have experience or not enough internal knowledge. Number 3, because of price or cost of the device. There's a high cost of goods, COGS, or just the price to market of connected devices is going to be just too expensive. Number 4, because of the patient or end user. Maybe there's a lack of patient awareness of these smart inhalers, or just uncertain user expectations. A 5th answer could be because of the benefits or value of such a connected device. For example, right now there is maybe a limited evidence of clinical and economic value. And the last option is because of the business model. Right now it's maybe very uncertain regarding the distribution of connected devices, or the pricing model, should be pricing model, or just the challenge who to sell to. So I would like now to ask you as an audience to participate in the poll. 6 answers are 6 options are there. I would like to select you only 3, and we'll give you a few more seconds before we will have a look at the result and then also integrate it into our ongoing presentation.
Yes, thank you, Thorsten, and we will wait another few seconds, but just in the meantime, it's obviously you would like to somehow tick all of those boxes, isn't it? Because that's exactly where we are today. We are challenging exactly those things you have listed here, and it will be interesting to see what, from an audience perspective, here has more weight, which is the thing which is holding back more of the people in our audience.
Yeah, good point. So as I'm totally right, we asked a pretty tricky question because, basically we could check all these 6 options. Maybe a few more seconds, because I can see here like how many actually are attending the poll. Tricky question. So shall we just jump to the conclusion of the audience for today? Where are the pain points for the audience? So let's have a look. Yeah, okay. So
very good.
Because the market, number 1.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and even though you presented those numbers on the market, I think it's relatively clear, and this is also shown in the poll here, that obviously it is the maturity and those regulatory hurdles. I think most of the people we're dealing with are facing. And I do understand fully that that is still the main point here. Also, and maybe not too surprisingly on number 2 here, is that it's the price and the cost of the device. But then again, I think this is something which will get much better once a few companies pick up on this, because then prices will fall. There will be higher volumes out there. And I think this is something which for sure is going to be solved. And then number 3, maybe together with number 4, in terms of most chosen option here would be 6, business model. And to be honest, this is also one of my most difficult ones, because that is really a hurdle, because there is a big uncertainty of that business model today, isn't it? How would you make those insurance companies in the end understand that it makes a lot of sense to get those devices? Because this is, in the end, you can ask the end user to pay for it, but in our healthcare systems, it should be supported by also the insurance companies, for sure. And then internal priorities, okay. And then number 4 and 5 here are the least, but still with 30%, obviously, that maybe the patient and end user usefulness and awareness, and also the benefits. And I do believe we will come to most of those points as well in the next slides of you, Thorsten.
Yes, exactly. And that's correct. So definitely, I think we asked the right questions, because all boxes were ticked. So there must be pain points and all of these options for the audience here. And yeah, what I like is number 5 is actually because I expected that maybe the limited evidence of clinical and economic value of connected devices would be a bit higher. So I mean, it's still there, but less than I expected. So I would like to use this right away to the ongoing or the rest of the presentation, because I mean, you have seen there's some barriers, and you just have answered them. And still, we from H&T Presspart, we believe that over time, these severe critical barriers will be addressed to enable greater uptake of connected devices. And I've mentioned this point just now. There are already several companies are conducting clinical trials with connected devices to actually show improvement in adherence and reduction in cost. This was one of the answers from our poll. And also, several manufacturers are working on low-cost connectivity to reduce the cost of devices. Now, we had seen this response in the poll, and actually one of the manufacturers working on this is us, is Presspart. We are one of them. So we continue supporting pharma by developing add-on devices or integrated connect devices to enable connectivity. And this is beyond our current competencies, because Anton, correct me if I'm wrong, but Presspart we are known for precision molding. We are a mass manufacturer. People know us and like us for our assembly services. And of course, one of our core competencies is deep drawing, when you look at the cans for the inhalers we do every day. But this is beyond exactly those competencies. We actually investing in connective capabilities by establishing, for example, strategic partnerships. We leverage our expertise in drug delivery systems and inhalation. And you can see here on the left-hand side, the partnering will be, maybe it's a design house, or we work together with smart sensor technology manufacturers, or also software developers, because every smart solution will require a software. So this is where we're coming from. This is what we're investing in.
Exactly. And we're also investing, Thorsten, thanks for jumping back, into internal structures. You said this, but maybe it's important to make that clear. We're building our own connected unit these days, and we have already onboarded a few specialists in that field for electronics and also for design of those future coming components, so that we expand our internal capabilities, as well as to also strengthen those partnerships which you already talked about.
Exactly. Thank you for this additional information. As I said earlier, we're doing partnerships, and one of the partnerships, it's basically the most recent partnership we enabled, is with Biocorp. So let me say a few words on Biocorp, which is a French company that designs, develops, and manufactures delivery systems and innovative medical devices, including connected devices. And I think it's fair to say that Biocorp has already a leading position in the connected medical device market and has established major partnerships with pharma and digital care solutions. And maybe you've heard of Biocorp, because this is one product I have. You can see here in the left-hand side of the screen is a pen. It's a smart insulin pen. So that's why I said they're pretty already established in the connected medical device market. So what Biocorp does is they offer both products and services, especially the design and development of connected devices, experience with communication technologies like Bluetooth, and expertise on software, data processing, and cyber security. And this is exactly the competence we would need nowadays to develop a smart solution, a connected device. And when it comes to long-term treatment of asthma, it's definitely not a secret that patient compliance appears to be a major concern, even now and even today. And patients rarely seem to use the correct inhalation technique. So that is why Biocorp has developed Inspare. And Inspare is a smart solution that optimizes drug delivery and treatment outcomes. So it is a compact add-on module, and it's designed to fit any MDI without interfering with the spray diffusion. And there's smart sensors that collect unique inhalation data and connect to smartphones via Bluetooth. You would just pretty much simply take the adapter you can see here on the screen and attach it or slide it over your EMDI, connect it to your phone, and then basically it's ready to go. So what can it do, the Inspare from Biocorp? With Inspare, patients can access real-time information to actually improve their technique. Visual and audio signals guide the inhalation process and help patients to avoid the most common inhalation errors. And this innovative solution offers new possibilities for the correct use of inhalers and other digital tools to ease disease and medication management. And what you can see here now on the left-hand side on the screen is basically is setting up the device. So this is an image you would get after you have used the inhaler. So first of all, you could choose what kind of medication are you using, which is here in this case. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's Ventolin. And then once you have took a shot, then you guide it from these 3 graphs, which you can see here with it in the different colors. So green definitely means, okay, this was a good performance, good inhalation, and red just simply means, okay, this was not so good, do it again. And this is related to the timing, also the inhalation depth. So after each shot, the patient get exactly this feedback on the smartphone and can either decide, okay, this was not so good, so I do it again, or I was good enough. And the app receives and displays data generated by an Inspare sensor. So accurate on pretty much objective metrics, offering improved understanding of inhaler use and misuse. So it's much like a logbook. The mobile app keeps track of every inhalation and offers a clear overview of treatment compliance over time. This is now what you would see here on the top right. This is also called logbook, where every inhalation is stored, and either it's green or blue, which is you did great, or it becomes red when it was not so good. So we have immediately one look and you can see where you stand. And additional features allow patients to analyze the development of the condition and actually encourage more appropriate and effective management of chronic respiratory diseases like asthma. Like I said earlier, InSpare is an add-on device, so it's removable and reusable, and basically it's a very smart and durable solution that digitalizes and optimizes traditional inhalation treatments. And so with the solution of Biocorp, we from H&T Presspart can actually provide a pretty diverse portfolio of connected devices for respiratory already. So there's the collaboration we have with Biocorp. With InSpare, we can offer an add-on solution. With our own developed EMDI here in the middle of the screen, we have an integrated connected device. And on the right-hand side, you see our eSunriser. And with the eSunriser, we have also a solution for DPIs.
Yeah, I think,
now,
Thorsten, we have to, I wanted to add here that the eSunriser solution here is so far just an idea. So we have thought about this and started drawing things up, but it is different in comparison to our EMDI, for example, where we obviously have prototypes available, which are fully functional, as with the InSpare device as well, also fully functional prototypes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good point, because now on the next slides, I would actually like to use the opportunity to talk briefly about our integrated solution to give you a better understanding how it works. So our EMDI improves patients' adherence to medication doses, encourages self-care, and this is now in the long run, helps healthcare professionals maintain real-time monitoring. Our EMDI can integrate with a mobile health app that can track both controller and rescue medication, so very similar to the InSpare device. And like InSpare, the EMDI works via Bluetooth technologies. There's also a visual signal during the inhalation process that guides the patient while inhaling. This is now here on the left-hand side, the blue counter you can see. Connected to a smartphone, the EMDI detects, records, and stores inhaler event data. And our EMDI will also work with a so-called flow sensor. And I would like to present next on the great potential of such flow sensors. So here we see the inhalation profile of a patient over time. And the optimal inhalation window can be identified on the curve showing shortly before the peak inspiratory flow rate, and is highlighted here in green. Furthermore, inhaler actuation and the moment of the drug release can be detected. And this moment then can be compared to the optimal actuation window to conclude whether the actuation was performed correctly. So to say, the inhalation profile gives an indication whether the patient inhaled deep and slow enough, which is, of course, very critical in the asthma treatment, for example. So the flow sensor can also identify the peak inspiratory flow rate. And the integration of the flow rate over time would give us then the total inspired volume IV, which is an important parameter. Why is it important? You'll see on the next slides. But before, another parameter I would like to show, which is basically possible with the integration of such a flow sensor, because here a calculation of the airway resistance is performed. And the airway resistance is defined by the ratio of the time needed to increase the flow rate from 10 to 90% of the peak inspiratory flow rate, and is then divided by the value of the set peak inspiratory flow rate. Simple terms, it will just gives us an indication of how severely restricted the airways are. So now I would like to explain how the previous shown measurement results and parameters can export it in the future directions to monitor the drug delivery in the course of the disease. Because there are several research groups that found that monitoring peak inspired airflow, the inspired volume, and the airway resistance over time allow to identify the next exacerbation. And all these three parameters that I just said, you can see here in the chart. And this is now kind of an imaginary patient case. You can see here the chart. And we just assume that the patient starts the treatment. So on the left-hand side, in the center of the screen, there is the BT beginning of treatment. And we would like to monitor the patient's compliance because we're holding in our hands, of course, our smart inhaler connected device. So in the beginning, the airway resistance is high, and both inspired volume and peak inspired airflow is low. So now with collecting and analyzing the data can provide an insight on the correct use of the inhaler, the effectiveness of the medication, and also the course of the disease. Because we can clearly see here now with all the data on the chart that after the beginning of the treatment, basically after maybe day, let's say 10, we can see that the patient's condition is basically improving over time. So now for some reason, this patient stops to take medication and starts the treatment again after a few days. So you could see here on the chart, the stop is the EINT, interruption of treatment, and then the patient restarts the treatment around day 40. And we see clearly that the patient's disease has degraded, right? You can see that, that the air resistance again is high, and for example, inspired volume is low again. So now with the availability of the patient's data, the medication intake can be improved and closely monitored until it's improving again, right? So if the healthcare professional has access to the data, you could kind of maybe reset the medication doses or talk more frequently to the patient so that the patient's conditions is improving again. So we would like to say that this so-called flow sensor technology is, or let's say, like adding a diagnostic unit like such a flow sensor to a drug delivery device that the patient is already familiar with. In this case, an inhaler is for us a very powerful tool in asthma and COPD disease management.
Sorry, Torsten, if you would jump back. I think it's important to also say that this data, specifically the last 3 and 4 slides, have been kindly provided by Sensirion, which is a sensor technology company in Switzerland, to us, so that we could show here those interesting data that those sensors can produce once integrated into medical devices.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, so now this is one of the final slides. Presspart can make your smart solution happen is the title. And Anselm, you introduced Presspart in the beginning, and maybe again a few words that just saying that Presspart is very active in the field of respiratory devices for more than 45 years. And we have very well established businesses with major pharmaceutical companies. And as a matter of fact, we are both highly interested and involved in the treatment of respiratory diseases. Right now, our portfolio consists of development support, including CT scanning, mold flow analysis, and computational fluid dynamics. And we can perform high-quality testing with our fully equipped state-of-the-art laboratory. We currently have more than 30 molding machines and more than 15 assembly stations. And like I said earlier, using all these competencies, we basically want to support the development of your own digital healthcare solutions, as we understood very well. That's where the market is going, where we see a lot of trends, a lot of opportunities and advantages. We just would need to make it happen. So this is pretty much a shout out to the audience to contact us if you would like to start a smart project, or maybe you already have ongoing projects where we say, hey, makes sense to have support here. So shout out to the audience to contact our Connected Health team. And maybe for those of you that are attending the Pharma Pack in Paris in October, we're going to be there. You're going to see Ansel and myself. We're going to be there. So let us know if you're interested, and let us help you to make your smart solution happen. And I think, Ansel, this is basically, this was the last slide for the presentation. So thank you already for joining today and for dialing in. And if I understand well, this is now time for a question and answer session. Ansel, let us have a look if there are already some questions here in
So quite a few questions came in, and I'm happy to read one of those out, and we can look at those. So one of the first ones was whether our devices fit various can sizes. And so thinking of the metered dose inhaler cans, which you have to use, and yes, it does. So it's not a very, very specific design, but it's a general design which takes any can size which is currently used in metered dose inhalers would be the answer. So there is no specifics on this. It does fit basically any can size. So then another question here is, what is the battery life for your connected devices? Good question. We have designed the integrated version of our EMDI the way that it has, as the product has to have 2-year shelf life. So that's not a problem as it is designed as of today. Torsten, maybe you can help me with the InSpare device of Biocorp. As far as I know, it is kind of rechargeable. So once the battery starts to grow low on that device, you can recharge it and then just keep on using it.
Yes, exactly. It comes as a package. So you will get the InSpare. It comes with your charging as a cable, and basically, if you have, you need to obviously to install the app on your smartphone, and it gives you basically a feedback if the InSpare is low and you have to recharge it. So very easy, very convenient. You connect it maybe like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then it's at least half full, and you can proceed with the use and the treatment. So that's very convenient.
Yes.
That's
a few more. Yes. A few more questions are coming in. So let's see. So one of those ones would be, good one. So with a number of companies already committed to developing low carbon MDIs, now we're talking about sustainability here a little bit. Is it not now the time to switch to connected devices with all the advantages they clearly have for patients in the healthcare system? Obviously, there would be immediately an answer, and then if you think about it, there's you have to differentiate a little bit. But I think for sure that with a better treatment, which in the end a connected device will give to the patient, the healthcare system and the patient will benefit strongly of this. Specifically also because you're not overusing one device, throwing away quite a lot of devices which you didn't need, and so on. So I think if you make up the big calculation, it is, even from a sustainability perspective, the much better solution to switch to connected devices. But obviously, the other side of this question, which I said in the beginning, would be that you say, but you have electronics and you have to be obviously careful not to throw them away or recycle them and so on. And this is a point we have to address, and I'm not saying it's not there. Of course, you have a little bit more raw materials here and electronics used in those devices, but the benefit you pull out of this is much greater and is also manageable, I think, in terms of sustainability, that in the greater end, it is the better solution to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another question I have here is like, how suitable are connected devices as a training tool for patients? And yeah, that's also a good question. Is yeah, basically, I believe that connected devices actually enhance training to improve outcomes, and beyond, I think this is actually goes beyond respiratory. Connected devices indeed have or can have a great impact on patients' training, especially if you look at the number of how many patients actually not receive training on inhalation, or maybe also in terms of self-administered injectables. So, because where lack of training or even misuse can lead to error, non-compliance, and maybe even like a stop of a treatment. So the advantage with connected training devices is that you've seen on the slide with NSPARE, they provide both like real-time finding and guidance, right? So a patient can intervene and correct immediately if the inhalation or the injection was just not right. I think in terms of training, also connected devices play a big role, even though I would also say the advantage that connected devices have is basically much higher than just use them for training devices, right? Yes. But good question here on connected devices as a training tool.
Yes. So I see a few questions here on which is slightly outside of detailed questions now about copies of the slides. For sure, please just write to us an email, and we're happy to share those slides out to you and also discuss about this. So that's not a problem whatsoever. So then a question here is, are the applications from our sensors linked with the CE mark under the MDR or the MDD? So I think important to understand is that we obviously looked at this and have that in mind, but that the prototype devices and also the software which runs on phones as of today are prototype devices and is prototype software. So we have thought about how to integrate this, but if you would ask us today for some prototype devices and you would test them, these are not fully linked under a CE mark or with a MDR or MDD, because it's not needed for show and tell with you, for example, if you are interested in this. But as I said, I just repeat, we have that in the background, and we know how to develop it in towards a compliant software/device.
Mm-hmm. So
good.
Let's see if
we only have, I think, another 2 minutes left. So there's a few more questions. Maybe we just pick one more.
Yep. So there's here, what trends do you see for connected devices and respiratory? Yeah, trend. I mean, always hard to forecast a trend or to foresee the future, but as we said, and we were confident in what we've presented, that especially the issue of limited evidence of clinical value will be addressed. Like I said, there are companies that will conduct trials with connected devices to show improvement. I also believe that at some point will be other players than payers that will actually start to cover the cost of connected devices once clinical value has been proven, because this is one of the responses from the poll that costs are, again, a big issue. And there's something in the US, which is referring to retail pharmacies. I've seen there's a partnership in the US between Propeller and so.
Yeah, you were gone for a second, but you're back. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, sorry. So yeah, just wanted to conclude on trends in respiratory, and was mentioned that there is a partnership in the US between Propeller and Walgreens, which is a retail pharmacy where actually consumers and patients can purchase Propeller directly from the website. So I think as the market is developing, also the big issue of costs will also be handled, so to say, so that these devices will become more, let's say, less expensive, let's say, as they are today.
Good.
Not sure. Do we have enough time for another question?
I think maybe a last one, but then.
Last question. Do you see one here?
Yes. So here, question is, do your devices store patient information, or will store patient information? And if so, how does this raise any patient privacy issues? So the devices itself have been developed with the highest security standards, so that it is, according to those standards, not possible to pull out that information if you're not, don't have the rights to do so. So obviously, we are working inside those boundaries to make sure that the patient information is secured. But I think on top of this, I can tell a short, insight when I was on a conference about this. I think there is a huge difference between the US and Europe. So Europe is very careful about their information and about, how far would they go by sharing those health data out. And in the US, in general, at least, they're slightly more open towards this. So what is more positive is maybe, is not for me to judge, but I can say that in terms of working with that data, the US population is slightly more open and opens in this way also more ways to then use those benefits of the data more freely, and also more possibilities to progress on those fields. And I do strongly believe that the EU also will find ways making sure that the privacy settings are obviously set correct, that data can be used in the near future, and we will, all of us, have highly benefits on using those data. Thank you very much. So I
Good. And thank you for the great questions. Maybe for the audience, there's also some survey questions we would like to ask you to get your opinion on how you see digital health, how do you see the trends. So if you see on your screen like a survey question and you still have another minute, we would be happy if you participate in the survey questions. And then I think we would like to hand over back to Ivan. And thank you very much for joining in and dialing in today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would like to also, on my side, to thank Torsten and Anselm because this was a great presentation, and to Presspart for sponsoring this session. To the attendees, you will receive an email shortly telling you how you can access the on-demand version of this webinar, or you can access this through our website, which is www.business-review-webinars.com. We look forward to sharing further webinars with you, so please do keep an eye out on our website or follow us on Twitter at BR Webinars, and join our LinkedIn group, Business Review Webinars. Thanks once again for all who were here today, and I wish you a very, very nice day. Goodbye.